Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Big Bros podcast. My name is Ilan, and I'm joined by my lovely friend who's just returned from Sydney with a beautiful tan, looking shredded as always. It's Jeremy. How are we?
I'm well, mate. How are you? That's a very nice entry, and maybe some of it true, some of it not so true. But anyways, thank you.
No, my pleasure. No, it's good to be here. You were in Sydney. I was dog sitting your lovely specimen of a canine, that is Teddy. We had an unbelievable
What a
time.
description.
Well, what a beautiful specimen of a canine. You've ever heard that term?
I love it, mate. Yeah, no, it was. You know, we were very grateful as a family for your nice looking after dog sitting Tedson. It was great, and he's truly one with you. We can see that. But
and your bed's very comfortable. Just may I add, it's quite comfortable.
That's good. That's good to hear. Good to hear. Comfy sheets too, I hope.
Yes, very comfy. So without further ado, talk to us. What are we speaking about today?
Mate, well, I actually don't think this episode could come at a better time because we were speaking during the week about just feeling absolutely bloody knackered, haven't we? And yeah, so today we're talking about how to switch off properly over this summer break because in the summer break, you also want to typically be doing 1,000,001 things. You've got people inviting you to events. There's probably more drinking and partying events, social events, Christmas parties, New Year's parties, and just being out in the sun more, which can also tire you out. And you know, it's very easy to just be a yes man and say yes to everything because you know now's the time period. It's summer, and who doesn't love summer, and who doesn't love socializing and doing 1,000,001 things? But I think for a lot of people, we also feel quite exhausted and burnt out at this time of the year. I know I certainly do, and I think you feel the same.
Mate, I am knackered as well. I can't say I'm burnt out. We did an episode on burnout about a year ago, and I remember the symptoms at like stage 10 were
Yeah, we went
insane.
through it.
I mean, I'm not burnt out, but I am bloody knackered, and I am exhausted, and I am keen to unplug for a little bit, albeit not too long, but just switch off for a few days. So, you know, I'd look at unplugging, and I used to look at this kind of concept of relaxing and just removing yourself from the grind as almost like a luxury, as something that, you know, I have to earn it. But the more I think about it and the more I'm in this kind of industry of allied health, as you are as well, you get to the point where it is not just crucial for the sake of your clients, but for yourself to at least allocate yourself some time in a year where you can just switch off and unplug. Because first of all, it's professionally responsible, but also we know that one of the top 5 regrets of the dying is, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. And I think that in this new grind culture, in this new hustle culture that's really promoted, which is great for a lot of people, you know, hard work does solve a lot of problems, but, you know, take that with a grain of salt as well. You were put on this earth to also enjoy the flowers, to smell the flowers.
Yeah, and look, people like Alex Hormozy, David Goggins, great people for lazy people to listen to a certain extent, because these are the figures that just promote countless consistent grinds, hustle culture, work. But they promote that because that's what they fucking love to do. And that's fair enough. Like if you are that person that absolutely loves working and loves grinding and you get a kick out of that hustle culture, fair play and, you know, kudos to you. But for most of the population, we want to have a break here and there, and as you should, like you said, because, you know, if we use a gym analogy, you know, the reason why you wouldn't go train 7 days a week, or, you know, you probably shouldn't train your muscles 7 days a week, is because you need that rest. You need that rest period. And the same goes for work. The same goes perhaps also just for socializing. You know, if you are typically a social butterfly and you normally do things every weekend with your mates or even during the week as well, it's important to have that time period off where you can just honestly do nothing. And doing nothing is hard to do. I find it so bloody hard to do nothing at times. But yeah, mate, I think for me personally, I absolutely need to do that at some point soon. Being in December is a good time period to do that before things, you know, heat up again going into next year. But how can we do this? That's the big question. How do we actually switch off in a way that is going to be feasible for typically busy people?
Look, I'll preface it with saying that you don't need to wait till the end of the year to actually unplug and switch off. But it's probably good to plan these things out in advance. It's looking at your kind of leave if you're in full-time work, looking at when your semester dates finish and really penciling in non-negotiable periods of time where you can actually switch off. And that also means letting your employers know, maybe letting specific family and friends know that you're going to be out of the country, or maybe you are within the country, maybe you're not on a specific holiday, but perhaps you just want to unplug. But it's letting those people know as soon as you've decided that you want to take a break. And you make it a non-negotiable for yourself. Because truthfully, if you don't tell people that you've got a boundary, that you don't want to be bothered within a specific time frame, people are going to consistently ask you for things. And that's up to you to be fucking assertive. And it's a hard thing for a lot of people. Because, I don't know, I'll ask you, have you ever felt guilty, maybe not in your current job, but when you were maybe doing casual work, asking for time off to go on a holiday?
Yeah, I think, well, at that stage, I probably felt like I didn't earn it. I didn't earn my stripes. And even I can relate it to this year. I mean, it's a year of full-time work for me. I started mid-January and I started full-time work literally 2 days after I was away for 5 weeks overseas. Got off the plane from Japan and I started working 2 days later. And this whole entire year, I have not taken a proper holiday for myself. Like I said, and like you introduced for the episode, I went away to Sydney for this past weekend. And that was the first bit of leave in addition to going when I went to Strawberry a couple of weeks ago, Strawberry Fields Festival. Those 2 weekends were the first bits of leave, which I actually took the entire year. And for me, I took some leave to enjoy myself over the weekend because I typically work Fridays and Saturdays. But for me, that wasn't like a rest period still. It wasn't like a holiday where I could, switch off or just, relax and decompress because I was still go. I was using a lot of social energy as well. And the same was with Sydney last week. I still worked from, the Tuesday, which is my first day of the week, to the Friday. And I got on the plane Friday evening and then got back Monday and I went back to work Tuesday. So, it was still that consistent nature of just grinding. And, it might sound privileged to some people to say that, oh, but you just went away for the weekend and you're complaining. But, when it's been a full year of full-time work and it's week in, week out, and don't get me wrong, like I've absolutely loved it and I don't feel burnt out because I think I've stressed across the podcast so far this year as well that I actually feel like I've had more free time on my hands throughout the year being in a full-time job because you've got those days where you're working, you've got those time slots where you're working, and therefore you've got that time period where you can actually switch off from work and pencil in those social activities or those personal activities like going to the gym or whatever it may be. So I feel like consistently throughout the year, I've managed it well, but I'm at the point now where like, fuck, it'd be really nice to just have a full week off to do something for myself, to relax, to decompress. So that's going to be the mindset going into next year is like you said, try pencil in those dates ahead of time because I didn't do that this year because I felt like I needed to earn my stripes a little bit this year because 6 months in, I still feel like, okay, maybe I've accrued like a week's leave or whatever, but who am I kind of to just, pencil in some time to take some time off? Like I still wanted to build myself up, get those patients in and really like make a name for myself. And then you get towards like the 8-month mark, 10-month mark. And now I find myself like 11 months in.
How much annual leave do you have?
I'm tired. Huh?
How much annual leave do you have now if you were to check?
Oh, well, for this year, I've used like a week just from those little weekend days here and there.
Because you work on Saturdays, so that's a working day.
So, yeah, exactly. So you get 4 weeks. I get 4 weeks off a year. I would have used a full week, so 5 days of annual leave. I guess the silver lining is that the 3 weeks that I didn't use this year will carry over into next year for me. So that's nice. So I do plan on penciling those time periods next year to do a little bit more travel and have that time period off to decompress.
And you shouldn't feel guilty for still feeling tired despite you having these little getaways and going to Strawberry and so forth, because the truth is it takes, if you've been working for as long as you have and the amount of kind of stress that you've acquired and accumulated over the year, before you even start to relax, you need to unplug. You almost have to warm up before you begin this relaxation process. And Mike Israetel, our favorite bald-headed individual on Chris Williamson, was talking about it with relation to longevity, which is the whole idea here that, you can work for a while, you can endure these tremendous bouts of stress. Your body can handle and your mind can handle really, really enduring aspects of stress, and as long as you do have a period of recovery. But that period of recovery can't be kind of small. It can't be a day or two. It might have to be a couple of weeks in some instances. I can speak to personal experience. I was also quite knackered at the end of my first semester because it was a very intensive coursework period before placement started, and I had a month away in Southeast Asia. It took me until about week 3 or 4 to start getting that hunger back of wanting to get back on the grind. And I think that sometimes we go on holidays and we overestimate or rather we underestimate how exhausted we actually are. And we kind of make ourselves feel guilty for the fact that we're on holiday for so long. But truthfully, we just haven't received or engendered that desire again to go back onto the grind. So it's like this whole idea that Chris Williamson also talks about, which is type A people have a type B problem. Now, I'm not saying I'm a type A person.
Well, I think you are. Just by that description, you absolutely are.
But it's more the fact that it's maybe, okay, and this is like a personal reflection I've had, is I think I've always struggled with the ability just to detach and relax and to smell the flowers. And I had this kind of realization a few weeks ago because I went on a walk after a really long day on a Friday. I was studying, I was grinding, and I thought, you know what? I've got a free few hours tonight. It is a beautiful sunset that's going to be coming up. So I went to Brighton Beach, went for a walk from there to St Kilda Beach, and, put my sunnies on, listened to a podcast, and I'll be honest, it was one of the most therapeutic things I've done in a while. Something as simple as a walk on the beach. And at the time, I felt like I had to justify it. I had to justify it in the sense that if I go on this walk, I'm going to be more productive tomorrow. And it almost felt as though I was stuck in that productivity purgatory where I can't just go outside and enjoy the roses. I can't just enjoy the flowers. I have to do it in the sense that it needs to aid some sort of future performance goal. And I was talking about this with some of my uni friends a few weeks ago, and how I said, this was a great self-care activity. And the way I framed it was because it was great for my productivity the next day. And they're like, you can just enjoy life without it having to serve some, noble goal for you. And it got me thinking about the whole type A people have a type B personality, because it's like type
A people
having a type B problem.
Yeah,
because the type B problem is that maybe you're less conscientious than a type A person. You're more willing to relax. And it's because it's far less noble to be like, I need to train myself to relax more. It's much more noble to say, I'm going to grind myself into the ground and be disciplined and hardworking. Because society doesn't necessarily reward the messaging of, I'm going to just have an extra sleep in, I'm going to relax, I'm going to just try and do nothing. Because that's socially, we live in a meritocracy, which is fine, but it's just the consequence of that is we're more likely to reward effort and hard work because, as I said earlier, it can solve many of your problems, and it probably will. But, just being lazy, just being relaxed, there's nothing wrong with it, especially when you do genuinely need it.
I do think at the same time, though, now it's the type A versus type B problem is something that people, one, are taking more notice of, and the type A people have actually, in my opinion, gotten really good at publicizing decompressing and having those moments of doing nothing and looking after yourself. And it's something that you see a lot of, at least I've seen on TikTok and Instagram now, is those type A people are really noticing these trends, because I think we're all feeling it. I think it's very much a pivotal problem, if we want to call it a problem, that these type A people struggle to decompress and have that time off, because like you said, we're all very competitive. We're all surrounded by hardworking people, and we all want to be the best in what we're doing, which is a great trait to have, but having that balance is important. So I basically just feel like if you know you're a type A person and you know that you need to fit in those block off periods to decompress and to have your fun and to have your holiday amongst all the hustle culture and work, just know as well how long that needs to be for you, so that you don't come back feeling like you've either been away for too long and you come back feeling like it's hard to get going again. Because I feel like when I've blocked off a certain period that I know is going to be enough for me or thereabouts, it gives me something to look forward to upon return as well. Like I know, okay, like I'm getting towards that 3-week mark now. I'm feeling like I've done enough of time off now. I've done enough of traveling perhaps, and I'm ready to get the ball rolling again. And knowing that is so beneficial if you are that type A person.
100%. And that's how you know the holiday period has actually served its purpose.
Absolutely.
Because the whole thing that you're trying to wait for is that little hunger of going back to your routine. You know, the thought of like, oh, it'd be great to go to gym tomorrow morning and then go to work after and, you know, just grind. And, you know, I'm hungry for that. And you want to get that little sniff. You don't want to be totally hungry for it to the point where, as you said, it might be a little bit difficult to transition back because you've been kind of lounging around for too long. But at the same time, it's good to really wait and relax until you do get that hunger again. Because think about how much more powerful you're going to be. And that's why I think it's such a powerful message to listen to this now, is because everyone sets their New Year's resolutions. I reckon if you're going to set New Year's resolutions, do them now, kind of know what they are now, and then completely switch off. You know, if you're in most kind of corporate jobs or work environments, you've got this Christmas shutdown period and New Year's period, and maybe you're lucky enough that you're going away somewhere, going on a holiday. Perfect time to literally set up that do not reply or, you know, automatic email thing on your Outlook or your Gmail, because the reality is you want to unplug before you relax. You want to unplug because if you're coming off a really stressful period at work, you know, end of financial year in June, end of June, and now it's end of like the formal calendar year now, it's still going to be a very stressful period because you're still going to be meeting some form of a deadline, right? So make sure that you've got a few days before you even fly out where you can set up those kind of non-negotiables where people aren't going to get upset at you because they can't contact you.
And you know what? I reckon this time period is actually a very stressful time period for a lot of people. And I don't think we think about that for the December period, because I think often it gets that glory of the closeness to Christmas, the closest to New Year, and that fun and that celebratory time of year. But I think this time period is actually a really stressful time period for people because of those reasons, because of that heightened stress of needing to get shit done before the end of the year, before those breaks come about. And therefore also knowing that, okay, once this is done, I need to automatically go from 100 to 0 to decompress so that I can therefore come in with energy at the start of the next year to get the ball rolling again. And I think with that as well, people also feel stressed from a self-care, personal development point of view, because they feel the need to maybe set New Year's resolutions, to maybe be better next year. And they feel the pressure of needing to sit down and think, okay, what am I going to do next year that's going to be better than this year? So I feel like it is a high pressure type of month that we're in now. And like you said, so much beauty in recognizing this early, recognizing this now, and maybe starting that decompression stage early amongst all of the hustle culture that you still might find yourself in.
And that's kind of what I'm doing as well. I'm trying to not wait till my Christmas shutdown period for placement for me to totally relax. I'm trying to integrate that slowly now. So, for example, I'm going away to Daylesford for a few days, which will be a bit of R&R with the partner, and it's going to be insane because for me that's trying to be really intentional, where maybe previously I'd do a bit of work on these little getaways to an Airbnb, but this time, like, I actually can't think of a day in the last month or two where I've actually taken a full day off in terms of not doing any work, uni work, placement stuff, research stuff, just like stuff where I can just totally just be away from Ilan's reality back at home. And I think if I can start integrating that little unplug period now, it enables me to have more of a relaxing period during that Christmas shutdown period, so that when January does hit, I am going to be feeling a bit more relaxed. Now, I know that I'm kind of contradicting myself here because the way I'm framing this conversation is that I'm allowing myself to relax now so I can improve my performance in the new year. But there's also an element of like, I'm just personally excited just to enjoy it. Like, I'm not trying to use it as like, because I feel like, as well, as you said, earning your stripes, that's a big thing I kind of resonate with. And I think it's a good thing. Like, you want to earn your stripes and you want to earn your holidays and rest periods. I'm a true believer of that. But at the same time, as well, I think if you can also remind yourself that when you are in that rest period, just to enjoy yourself and relax and kind of switch off, and it doesn't have to be with the sole purpose of it improving some form of future performance, you put yourself in such a great kind of mental state going into a relaxation period. Because the reality is, a lot of times we'll go on a week holiday somewhere and, you know, you're still stressed at day 3, day 4. You just haven't been able to kind of re-immerse yourself in the relaxation environment. Suppose you're at a resort, right? And you're trying to relax by the pool. And although you've got your emails just like got that set up, that automatic reply set up, you're still kind of stressed out because you're thinking about what was that deadline that you just got in time, that piece of work that you got just in time, the mark that is being assessed currently, and you're not actually able to switch off despite the fact that you're not doing any work because it's so close. That's why I think if you can have like an unplug period before you do go away or do have that formal relaxation time, it's going to be of tremendous benefit towards you.
An unplug period, and also just knowing that you've given it your absolute all. I think especially being a type A person, you feel that sense of guilt when you maybe haven't given it your all, and then you're maybe entering that rest period, and the same goes for, you know, VCE listeners at the moment as well. Like if you know that you've given it your absolute all, then that rest period is going to feel so much better. When you still have that sense of, oh, I could have done more, I could have worked harder, that's where those feelings start to creep in. And honestly, in my opinion, rightly so. I feel like if you're a person that actually does give it 110% effort, it doesn't matter what the result is, because you know that you've done everything within your limits to produce the best thing that you possibly could.
And on that note, if you are a VCE student who feels like they may have just left a little bit more out there than, you know, now they look back on it, they know they could have put a little bit more effort, that's okay. You're only 17, 18 years old. Relax. It can happen. Guess what? You got your whole life ahead of you, and you've probably just learned a really valuable lesson about giving it your all when required. So you might be starting uni, you might be starting a trade, you might be taking a gap year, but these are going to be lessons that you can actually take into anything. I would still, just because you might feel a little bit guilty relaxing because maybe you didn't give it your all, still enjoy yourself. I don't think you're suggesting that, you know, those people can't enjoy themselves after, you know, 17, 18 years of schooling. But I think that if you can also, during this time, maybe take a few weeks just where you can do nothing, enjoy your friendships, whether you're going on schoolies, whether you're going on a holiday, whether you're just doing nothing and staying in your hometown. Don't maybe get straight into like a, you know, summer job just yet. Like
take time off.
Yeah, take some time off. I reckon that's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, and regardless whether you're VCE, uni, or just, you know, kicking it about in your 20s, if you've had a period where you've worked hard, I firmly believe there's no rush into finding something so soon after a busy period. Have that rest break, just like I did after I finished uni last year. I went away for 5 weeks, and it was the best 5-week period I could maybe even say in my life, because I knew that I'd put in the effort, I'd busted my gut, and I had something coming up as well. And it's such a rewarding feeling knowing that when you've really worked hard, and you can now really just enjoy yourself before something big coming up. Because if you are a person that is quite hardworking normally, that type A person, you know that you're not going to be a bum forever. You know that you can be a bum for a little bit of a period of time, and you'll get back into it. On the other hand, if you are that type B person, and you are that person that is a lazy motherfucker at the best of times, you need to actually go and listen to some David Goggins and listen to Hormozy and give yourself a kick up the ass, because life isn't going to just fall at your feet and present everything to you. You need to actually put in some self-work to get the results and deserve the results. So, you know, there's that little bit of a difference sometimes that, yeah, if you are a lazy person, give yourself a bit of a kick up the ass and be honest with yourself.
Exactly. And you know, there's time for both. You know what I mean? It's not subscribing to one message solely. You know, there's times for laziness and there's times for working hard. And chances are you'll know when it's time to do either of those things. But I know a lot of uni students will relate to this when I say that I cannot actually wait to go to a place like Europe when it's not July or January. Meaning I'm excited to go to these places in the world when it's not actually outside of a semester period. So I'd love to go to like Italy in September, right? Or I'd love to go to Japan, for example, when it's April during the cherry blossom season. But, currently it's a bit difficult, and every uni student will relate to this because it's usually midway through their semester unless they're doing trimesters. So that's one thing I'm really kind of excited for, is kind of when I do enter full-time work, is being able to choose holiday periods where they're not necessarily just within a November to February period, especially because it's so goddamn expensive.
Yeah, you've got freedom. I guess, mate, to, wrap up this episode and summarize what we're kind of discussing about, switching off during this time period. I think the key points are really to just be a bit assertive with yourself. And what I mean by that is be very direct with having those periods of blocking off time for yourself and putting the phone down, putting the productivity down, and also knowing that, if you are that hardworking person normally, you've worked hard. So acknowledge that you've worked hard as well, and give yourself a pat on the back and acknowledge that you do deserve this time, because it's so easy to feel like you don't deserve it and that you should be working harder. But know that in order for you to continue to be a bit more productive later on, this is warranted. Just like, working your muscles in the gym, rest period and recovery is warranted, and it's most definitely needed.
And if you're like me, where I've struggled to sometimes just enjoy myself and smell the roses, ask yourself whether you're trying to justify a specific activity with the sole purpose of it potentially improving your productivity in the future. Ask yourself and be really honest with yourself, because there is nothing wrong with just relaxing something for the sake of relaxing and enjoying yourself.
Absolutely. On that note, guys, happy Tuesday. Have a good week. Enjoy these final moments of December and do the things that you would typically do at the end of the year now. Get in a bit early now. Use that time to decompress now amongst all of the hustle and bustle still, and get a bit ahead of what you would normally be
doing.
doing.
Nice. Love you.
See you guys.